Hi friends, this is Terry Squires with Today's Nashville. I sat down with Jake Hoot, winner of The Voice of season 17. You won't want to miss his episode, and he sings for us. How do you spend your time? If you are living for yourself and not living for God, it's time for a change. Jake Hoot, he won The Voice in season 17 and headed back for the Battle of the Champions. A devoted husband, rooted in faith and a proud girl dad to 3 beautiful daughters, Jake lives out the same love and values he shares through his music. Born in Texas and raised between the Dominican Republic and Tennessee, his music embodies a life steeped in faith, family, and truth. This is his story. This is Today's Nashville. This is faith. Jake, season 17 winner of The Voice. Welcome to Today's Nashville. I am so honored to have you today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So I have to hear about what it was like from the beginning to the end of The Voice.
Yeah, I think it was very high intensity. Up to that point, I had just played a couple gigs, here and there, open mics and little wineries and bar gigs and stuff like that. And then going from that to national TV.
What even made you think about auditioning?
So at the time, I had actually auditioned for American Idol years before. I call it the cattle call audition because they just bring you in like groups of 6. You step forward, sing like 15 seconds, and they usher you out. And so I was like, I am never doing a singing show. That is just, it's not me. And at the time I was a single dad. And so I was playing songs to my daughter, and I called it bath tunes because she'd be taking a bath and I would sing to her and this and that. And they saw it on social media and reached out and said, hey, we would love to invite you out for an audition.
The Voice?
The Voice did, yeah. And I had the same reaction. I emailed them back and said, how do I know this isn't a scam? And they said, well, we don't know how to prove it other than here's the address in Nashville. And so I came down and auditioned and
Now, where were you living?
I was living in Cookeville, Tennessee.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I went to Tennessee Tech out there, played football, and then I actually got into the radio business. I was an account executive, which is fancy for sales rep, but I was selling radio out there, and this just kind of blew all that wide open.
Well, before we get to The Voice, so I'm going to bring you back a little bit. I read that you started singing at open mic during college.
Yes, yes.
How'd that happen?
A lot of fellow players and friends kind of like dragging me there, I think is what it was. I always lacked confidence, so I taught myself to play guitar. I played in churches that Dad started growing up. But to stand in front of people and play, I was like, there's just no way. And finally I got up there and really got a love for it. I mean, it was just feeling the crowd's energy and all that kind of stuff. It became like, man, I got to do this at some point. And so, I think we had open mics twice a semester, and I would always go out. It was at the Backdoor Playhouse at Tennessee Tech University. And did that for a few years and absolutely loved it, and had no idea that where I'd be sitting now started then. It's just a crazy journey.
But you grew up in Tennessee, but you also grew up in the Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic, yes, ma'am.
Were your parents were missionaries, right?
I joke and tell people we were in witness protection, but yes, we were missionary kids. So there's 9 of us total. I'm the second oldest of 9. And we moved to Haiti first and lived there about 3 months, and then moved over to the Dominican side. And I lived there almost 11 years before I moved back to the States. And then my parents lived there another 3 years or so. But I think I moved there when I was probably around 7, 8 years old. And so it was such a wonderful way to grow up. We learned to speak Spanish playing dominoes in the streets with the kids after we were done with our homework, and we'd go out and play. And mom and dad were church planners, so they went and started churches, trained up locals there, turned the churches over, and then moved to the next location and started another church. And definitely a very sweet moment in my life, and definitely helped shape who I am today. And a lot of my outlooks on life and everything were kind of formed watching how mom and dad treated people and loved on people growing up. So very sweet time.
And you began following Jesus at that time? Or when was the moment when you said, okay, I'm going to give my life to Jesus?
Yeah, I think I was either 5 or 6, and we were still living in the States at that time, and preacher preaching on hell and all the things. And I just remember going to my dad, and he taking me up to the altar and us praying. And I can't say that I have been the most faithful follower my entire life, but that's when it started. And then, like I said, a lot of my outlook and what has shaped me as a man, as a husband, as a father is, how mom and dad loved people and how they sacrificed for others, which is, what we're called to do as followers of Christ. And so doing that, and then, that's kind of propelled me to where I am today and how I do things as well.
So when was the moment too, you're 5 years old and you said, well, I went to the altar, but when in your adult life and did you say, okay, this is what I'm going to do and this is who I'm going to follow?
I was probably in my late teens when I felt a really strong calling, if you will, in the being a follower of Jesus. And at the time I wanted to teach in Christian music schools. And then I kind of fell away from it. I'd gone through a divorce and, being a single dad and that whole scenario in my life.
You were young then.
I was. And honestly, I truly fell back in love with Jesus and decided to change up everything I was doing when I met my wife, Brittany, and she's wonderful, and she showed me a different side of Jesus that I had never seen before. And so it's been enlightening. It's been wild considering, grew up in church and then kind of fell away and then came back, and just kind of seeing what God's doing in our lives and our girls' lives, because we've got 3 girls, has been wonderful. And we absolutely love it.
Girl dad.
I am, absolutely. I was getting some clothes yesterday and somebody said, hey, your boss is over there. And my wife was over there with our girls. I said, no, you mean all 4 of my bosses are over there. I got to go find out what I'm supposed to be doing. But yeah, I'm very blessed.
Let's go back to the voice. What was it like to go on stage for the very first time?
Terrifying. It was completely silent. And the song I had picked to sing for my blind audition didn't have any kind of musical interest. So I had no way of finding what my key was. And you just get a little snare and then you start singing. And so the entire time I'm standing behind these doors, I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know what key, I'm supposed to start this song singing. I don't have a reference point. And Carson was out there, Carson Daly was talking to me, and I'm sitting here trying to go, I need to remember the key. So I walk up there, and luckily I found the key before it got too far into the song. But, I tell people it's just a silent room. There's probably hundreds of people in there, and all I could hear were my boots clomping up the steps. And it was
What was going through your mind?
I don't know that I'm supposed to be doing this. I was just like, I don't know, I don't know how I snuck in here, but here we are. And I tell people, you only play 90 seconds of a song during your blind audition, and it felt like 20 minutes. And Kelly turned at the very end, and she's the only one who turned. But for that 90 seconds, I was just like, oh man, this is taking so long. What's going on? But ended up working out really well.
We're going to talk about Kelly turning her chair and where God is taking you when we come back. Jake, before Kelly turned her chair, what was it like when you got the call to come and audition to The Voice? You got there, then what happened? What were the behind the scenes like?
So they had me prepare 2 songs, and then you go into this room or whatever in a studio in Nashville. People lined up down the hallway. You go in and you sing to one producer. That's the first audition. And luckily he was a very kind producer, because the first song I played, I thought I nailed it. And I had rearranged Bruce Springsteen's I'm on Fire. And I was like, man, this is a cool version. And he just sat there and he said, well, if I'm making a decision off that, it's a no. And I was like, oh, man, Then he said, play something else and show me what you can do. And so I usually play Take It Easy from the Eagles out of G, and I was like, I've got one shot at this thing. And so I bumped it up a whole step and played it. And he goes, that's what I want to hear. And so once you make it through that, you do, I think, 2 or 3 more auditions before you finally go out to California to kind of go through all the different things or whatever. And then you finally do the blind audition. So I don't know how many thousands of people auditioned for the beginning. Once you get to California, there's about 250, somewhere around there. And then they narrow it down to 48. So it's just rapid fire, and you're making friends with everybody. And then the next day, half of those people are gone, and you're just trying to readjust and, refigure out who your people are and all that kind of stuff. But it really was a wonderful time. I tell people it's a singing competition, but it never felt like a competition. It was just like all of us were one big family, encouraging each other, supporting each other. And we still all, talk and hang out when we can today. So it's been really special.
So you went to California, and then you get there. Do you get to meet everybody that's, on the stage? And do you get to meet Kelly and beforehand, or?
No.
Okay.
No. So we got to meet, like, we all had vocal coaches, and we got to meet certain producers, and obviously, you got sound and lighting and everything else going on. So you get to meet the band and you get to meet the sound guys, but you don't really get to meet the coach until after they turn that chair. And then we immediately, once we got done with the blind audition, I remember I went backstage and did an interview, and then walked out and got in a van and went to the airport. So it's like rapid fire, and then they bring you back out a few weeks later to start doing the other things. But it's just so high paced, fast paced, high tempo things that you're just like, what's going on? I think they do that to keep you thinking that way of like, can't figure it out. But Kelly's a sweetheart. She's been a great friend over the years. So very honored to have gotten to work with her.
So she turned her chair. And how many weeks after that were you not auditioning, where you were still playing and competing? Mm-hmm. How many weeks did it take before you were the finalist?
The finalist. Well, let's see. That was in March of 2019, and I won December 19th. So it's like, once you kind of come and go, you do certain segments at a time, and then you go home, and then when you come back for the lives, you're there until you get eliminated or until you make it to the end. And so I think I went out sometime in October and stayed through the end of December. So it was quite the wild ride.
Did you think you were going to win?
Oh, no, absolutely not. I still don't know how it happened. I'm sitting here going, really? Like, I don't know. But I remember standing there with Ricky Duran, who was the guy who came in second. And on the video, you can see me like nudge him and say something. And I said, man, you got this, dude. I'm so happy for you. And then they called my name, and I was just like, what? Like, Ricky is an incredible singer, songwriter, musician. And I for sure thought he was going to take it home. And so to have them call my name, I just kind of lost it and blacked out at that point. So I remember seeing my girl, and I remember seeing the confetti coming down, but that's about all I remember that moment.
And you were single at this time, right?
I was, yes, ma'am.
So at that moment, what was going through your mind?
I tell people, my wife is the most confident person I know. She's very confident, and she has helped me a lot with my confidence. I lacked so much confidence that when I came off the show, I was convinced that nobody would ever book me to play a show. And so I went right back to work at the radio station and worked there for about 2 months. And when I say work there 2 months, I was gone like 6 days a week, and they still let me keep a job there before I finally said, hey, I just can't do this. Like, there's no way. Like, it's not fair to the other employees at the radio station, me being gone as much as I was. But I had no idea what was going to happen. And it just kind of all exploded. You come off a show like that, and we had a 1.5 years worth of touring already booked, sponsorship deals, all these different things, 2 major labels we were talking to.
Were you in Nashville at the time?
I was, yes, ma'am. So Cookeville's about an hour outside of Nashville. Mm-hmm. And so I had gotten a condo downtown Nashville, like, here we go, let's go all in. And then March of 2020 happened and everything came to a screeching halt. And so, but for those few months, it was on airplanes and buses, all the different things all over the place for a while. And then everybody came to a halt. So it was a wild year.
So in that time, you met your wife.
My wife and I's love story is very interesting. We met as wedding singers about 12, 15 years ago. Two of our friends, two mutual friends, were getting married, and they were like, she was friends with the bride, I was friends with the groom. Hey, we want y'all to sing our first dance song together. Sang it, went our separate ways. And then before I went on The Voice, I had gone on a missions trip to Nicaragua that she was leading, and we reconnected, tried to date, it wasn't the right time. And then after The Voice, went on another missions trip, and right time, and we started dating not long after I came back from the missions trip, and then we were married within a year and have had two more girls since then.
All girls.
All girls.
And you're writing songs for you girls.
Yes.
We're going to have you sing one. What song are you going to sing for me?
It's a new song called If I Could Keep You Little. And I hope parents resonate with it's almost like, I don't know how to explain it. It's this passion that you have for your kids of like, it's bittersweet when you grow up. I love watching you grow. I love when you figure things out, but just please stay little. Just, and I always tell my girls, you made a deal with me that you would never grow up. And they're like, Dad, we can't stay little.
How old are they now?
Almost 11, 3, and 2. So they're all the emotions going on, all the personalities going on. And I just show up and say, yes, ma'am. And I'm sorry. That's about my job at this point. So,
whatever you say.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
We're going to hear that song when we come back. Jake, you just returned back from the Battle of the Champions of The Voice. Love your new songs. You write so much about your precious little girls. Can you sing one of those songs for me?
Absolutely, absolutely. This is a new one called If I Could Keep You Little. And it was written as I had just come home off the road, and I looked at my youngest, and she just looked totally different than when I had left just a week before. And so I said, honey, just slow down. And as any songwriter does, it inspired this song. So this song is called If I Could Keep You Little. If I could keep you little, I'd bottle you up, keep you like a picture in my pickup truck, carry you around and keep you close to me. But I miss you growing into who you're meant to be. Baby, slow down please. Baby, what's your hurry? You're pretty like a flower growing like a weed, oh baby. Slow down please. Baby, won't you slow down please? If I could keep you little, I'd wrap you up tight, read you all the fairy tales in bed each night. Unicorns and mermaids and some castles too. But I miss out on how you made all your dreams come true. Baby, slow down please. Baby, what's your hurry? You're pretty like a flower growing like a weed, oh baby. Slow down please. Baby, won't you slow down please? I'd give everything I have to hold back time. You'll understand one day, but until that day arrives, baby, slow down please. Baby, what's your hurry? Pretty like a flower growing like a weed, oh baby. Slow down please. Baby, won't you slow down please? Baby, won't you slow down?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Thank you so much.
As parents, we all say that, don't we?
Yes, ma'am.
All your songs, are they inspired by your girls or?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, you get inspiration from a lot of different things. Obviously, my wife and girls are big inspirations. A lot of love songs, a lot of dad songs. You know, there was a time in my life where I wrote a lot of breakup songs, and those are really hard to write anymore nowadays. Anytime somebody wants to write a song about that. But here lately, I grew up listening to John Denver, and so I've been writing a lot of songs about just being out in nature and stuff like that. Not to the level that John Denver was, but doing a lot of songs that are just peaceful. I want people to feel like they're living the story and just be able to take a breath when they hear it. Just
do you
relax.
write all your songs?
Most of them, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. On our new record that's coming out, I've got some songs that buddies of mine have written that I've been holding on to for a couple of years. When I heard it, I said, I want that song. But yes,
so when's your new album coming out?
hopefully this fall. So we're looking at putting out a live album in the fall, and then potentially one in the spring as well, with a bunch of new songs. But we're putting out singles throughout the year, so anybody can go and hear any new song whenever they want.
I heard you wrote a book too.
I did.
Is it out?
It is out. It is out. Yeah, we just put it out a couple months ago. But yeah, it's called The Great Big Blowout, and all parents know what blowouts are.
Wait a second. I'm a parent. Am I
You
missing
don't know what
something?
it's without getting too crude. It's
I think I know.
when things come out the diaper that are supposed to stay in the
okay.
diaper. Yes.
Okay. I do know what that is.
Yes. So it came.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately for me, it's still pretty. It's a pretty reoccurring thing. But
you wrote a book on it?
I did, because I went to the park with my now 3-year-old, and she had a huge blowout. We didn't bring the diaper bag with us, so I had to take off my sweatshirt and clean her up and go to Walgreens and get diapers and everything. Came back and we still went on a walk. And while we were walking, I was like, this is just a funny story. And so I just made up this poem and I posted it on social media, and it went viral. And everybody said, you should write a book. And so I did. And it just came out a couple months ago, and it's doing pretty well. And my daughter calls it the poop book. She goes, that's my poop book. But
I think you're probably the only author that has written about that. Do you think?
I don't know. I would say probably other people have done it. I've done it, and it's more of it's a children's book, but it's advice to parents of like.
What's the advice? Carry diapers?
Carry diapers and diaper wipes, and a change of clothes too, because we ended up wrapping her in a sheet just around her body to put her in the stroller or whatever. But yeah, change of clothes, diaper wipes, and diapers, and you'll be good.
Oh, that is hilarious. What's next for you? Where is God taking you?
You know, I feel like at this moment in my life, I am more at peace than I've ever been at peace. And my wife and I pray for peace all the time. And we are just loving where He's taken us. My music is kind of taken off. Thank God, it's just kind of, you know, taken off again, like with new life. And we're writing a lot of songs. I'm writing songs I want to write, and I'm putting out songs that I want to put out that have good messages behind it. I'm not going to beat anybody over the head with the Bible, but when people hear the songs, I want them to encounter Jesus in some way. And so getting to do that has just given me a whole new purpose and why I do what I do. But aside from the music, just watching my girls grow up and being there with them and my wife, and we may have another one. She wants 2 or 3 more kids. I'm happy wherever God takes us. But if we have another one in the next year or so, I'd be happy. But living life and, you know, loving on people, that's what we do.
Well, we have about a minute left. What message do you want to share with somebody listening to you today?
Love people, no matter where they're from, what they do, you know, whatever it is. You know, I think in the Bible it talks about, you know, love the Lord your God as the first commandment. And then the next one is, and love thy neighbor as thyself. And I think, you know, as humans, we can tend to get away from that. And I just think that's a missing piece in the world today, is just loving other people. Just giving somebody a hug. I mean, you could change their whole day. And that's why I tell my girls, you never know who needed that in that day. And so just love on people, just like you know, love God and love people. And that's what we try to do.
Jake, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I pray for great success for you, and I'm sure it's going to happen.
Thank you so much for having me.
My friend, are you searching for peace in your life? Like Jake said, he's standing right in front of you. His name is Jesus. This is Today's Nashville. This is faith.
Cornerstone Television wishes to thank all our faithful viewers whose consistent prayers and financial support have made this program possible.
Hi everyone, this is Terry Squires with Today's Nashville. This is Faith. I have Joyce Martin, one of my all-time favorite singers, and she sang for me.
She made me
hello.
sing. Hi. How y'all doing? I usually have my brother and my sister here with me, so I'm alone today, but Terry made me feel right at home.
Well, you won't want to miss her episode. Her story is so powerful, and her voice more powerful.